Hello everyone, how's it going? Now in this video, I'll be talking about what I would have done differently in my OCD recovery journey. Now the first thing, I would have got on with the first book much quicker, okay? Now it took me, how long did it take me to read that first book? I would say at least 3 months to start reading that book, okay? To actually open the book. I had it on the shelf for about the first 3 months and it took me a while to actually get into it because I was very skeptical. I thought, how can me reading a book help me with my OCD? How can reading a book help? How I'm so fixated in guilt, panic, anxiety, shame, panicking all the time. How can just reading a book make it all go away? How can that be possible? So I was very skeptical about that. And then after each call, Rob would say, look, let's read the first book. Let's try and resist compulsions. But first of all, you've got to read that first book, even just 15 pages a day. Just read one page and then go from there. Just get through one page, then the next one, then the next one. And then as I started reading it, I say about 3 months in, I then started to see how it would work, right? Because the first thing I said was, well, hang on, this don't work for me because what he's talking about, what Ellis is talking about isn't related to my fear. It's not specific to my OCD theme. It's a load of crap. It's a load of nonsense. That ain't going to work for me, right? That's what I said. I hear many people say that. But what you've got to do is the principles he's outlining, the foundations he's laying for you of how to tackle any fear, hence the book, how to refuse to make yourself miserable about anything, yes, anything, how to stubbornly refuse to make yourself miserable. So it's not just your specific fear, not just your specific theme, okay? So you've got to look at how he's using that to real life examples and then apply it specifically to your specific fear, okay? It's such an important book. But then I would say I sort of skimmed that. I started to, yes, I could see how it was making sense, but because I was looking for that quick fix, because I was looking for that relief, I was desperate just to read that first book and then get relief, right? I was desperate for that. I thought, where's the quick fix? How can I read 6 books on the reading list and then be fixed? I wanted one call with Rob and that was it. Done. Happy days. I can go and live my life. I wanted that. Okay. But the harsh reality was OCD recovery or any mental health recovery, anything worth having, such as recovery, freedom, robust recovery, isn't just a quick fix. Isn't just an overnight press of the button and it's done. Okay. It doesn't quite work like that. So going back to what I was saying. So I'd have read the first book much sooner. So straight after the first call, maybe even before the first call. Okay, book the first call in. Right, let's read the first book so we can see how we look at rational thinking, how we can apply unconditional acceptance, how we can look at breaking down our demands, tuning down the catastrophizing, increasing the frustration tolerance, so building that frustration tolerance. Look how we're saying things like, I'm undeserving, I don't deserve this, I can't have this, I will never get better, I will always be stuck, that kind of thinking. And let's look at the self-downing, the life-downing, the other-downing, the opposite of acceptance and so on. So once I started to look into that, it all started to make sense a bit more of how I was going to set the building blocks and build the foundations for robust recovery. Okay, so I would have read that much sooner looking back now. I'd have said, Sam, I'd put my arm around me and go, Sam, read that first book right away. Don't skim it, get it read. If it doesn't go in, don't worry about it. Next page, next page, next page, and you'll be surprised how much actually goes in. Okay, that was another thing with the first book. Because I wasn't much of a reader before I came in, not like I didn't like books, it was the fact that I felt like I couldn't concentrate. I felt like I couldn't read, okay? Because every time I'd take something in, it wouldn't go in. It would be like just jumbled up words on a page because my mind was normally going around about something 5 years ago, 10 years ago. I was triggered by something maybe, so I just couldn't concentrate. I couldn't take it in. Okay, I'd maybe read a paragraph and then I'd get distracted. I had very low frustration tolerance, so just because it wouldn't go in, I get annoyed, I get angry, I think, oh, this fucking book, it won't go in, and I sort of put it down. So that was what I was like. So looking back now, and I've done that much sooner, I'd have carried on going regardless because I knew it was a great chance to build frustration tolerance, okay? So get that first book read as much as you can, move on to the second book, the third book, and so on, okay? So prioritize the reading, okay? Get on with it, no messing about, no waiting, no procrastinating, get on with it and get it read, okay? The next thing I'd have done differently is resisting compulsions like my life depended on it, okay? Because let's be honest, when you first come in for coaching calls, The first thing that you have to focus on, the first thing all you can focus on is this. Reading the first book, like I've just mentioned, and cutting compulsions. Okay, there's not much else you can do. In that first initial call, in those first couple of months, first couple of weeks on your recovery journey, there is not much you can do. Because the belief work, that takes time, that takes patience, that takes consistency, that takes a lot of time. Okay, no time frames, but it's going to take time. Okay. Exposures, compulsions, they are something that you are choosing to do, right? I was partaking in avoidance. I was choosing to do things for relief. I was choosing to vent. I was opting to confess. That was my choice because I just needed to do that for relief. That's how it felt. You need to get this off your chest for relief. You have to do that to escape that discomfort. You need to get rid of that feeling, Sam. So go and Google. Go and seek reassurance. Go and ask the same question 10 billion times. Go and vent. Go and complain. Go and moan. Go and whine. That's what I used to do, right? And although I knew that wasn't working, I was very, very aware that wasn't working. You could have told me it wasn't working. I go, yeah, I know it isn't working. But it was the reluctancy to give up that compulsion. It was the refusal to give up those compulsions because I was scared of the uncomfortable feelings. I was scared that the triggers would bring that feeling. We all know how that feels. The anxiety spikes, the increase in panic, the increase in guilt and shame. Okay, all those feelings that it brings, the depression, the low mood, the deflation, the total demotivation, like what's the point? That kind of feeling, right? It's going to do that, okay? But looking back now, I'd have said, Samuel, listen to me. If you do not cut compulsions like your life depends on it, you will not make progress, Sam. I'm afraid that is the golden honest truth, okay? Because every time you partake in a compulsion, you are showing your brain that there is a genuine threat. And every time you do that compulsion, you are showing that flight or fight response that you feel when you're triggered is a valid response. So your brain is going to think, right, I will continue doing that. Okay, let's think about this. If I kept avoiding things, I'm showing my brain that I should avoid to keep safe, right? To be comfortable, to stay in the comfort trap. So my brain is there trying to protect me. That's what all the anxiety and the panic is designed to do. It's firing to protect you and to keep you safe and ultimately keep you alive. But then it's misfiring because even the slightest threat, it detects the slightest threat and it's the same response. Now to tune that down and for OCD to take a step back, we've got to cut the compulsions. Now when we do that, the anxiety will increase. We know that. Because you're so used to giving into the compulsion, you're so used to going back into the safety trap, back into the comfort trap, your brain will think that's going to keep you safe. But every time you engage with that, you are showing your brain it's doing good, it's firing correctly when it's not, okay? So when we look at that, when we resist compulsions, you are acting against that, okay? You are exposing yourself to the fear, you're confronting the fear, and ultimately showing your brain there is nothing to detect there's a threat there, right? It's going to feel scary. Everything to an OCD sufferer is going to feel so goddamn risky. It's going to feel life and death. It's going to feel like if I do not do this compulsion right now, I'm going to die, right? It's going to feel so risky, right? Like your life depends on it. That's how it's going to feel. Now, an OCD sufferer has to take that extra risk. They have to go the extra mile, the extra kilometer, right? Because everything will feel super risky. So you've got to take that risk. And when I talk about compulsions, every compulsion that you cut will feel extremely risky, will feel like you're going to be haunted forever if you don't avoid that, if you don't do that compulsion. That's how it's going to feel. But ultimately, I'm going to be brutally honest with you, you have to cut that compulsion. Otherwise, you cannot expect progress. Okay? Now, I'm not expecting all compulsions to be cut right this second, right now, okay? But you've certainly got to be aware of what compulsions are doing and how they are ultimately keeping you stuck in the OCD cycle. And you've got to prioritize cutting them, no matter how anxiety-provoking removing compulsions will get and will be, okay? Anyone saying cutting compulsions will be easy, A, haven't had OCD, and B, doesn't understand OCD. Because to us, as an OCD sufferer, doing compulsions is an addiction. It's our drug. We are addicted to compulsions, okay? So to break free from that, we have to take that risk of cutting the compulsion and sitting with that anxiety. Zipping up the uncomfortable anxiety coat and wearing it and bringing it for the ride. Taking it everywhere you go. We've got to ride the OCD wave, okay? Got to ride the anxious wave. Trust me, I've been in places where I've been running out, panicking. I've been crying because the sensations have been so severe and so extreme. I get it, okay? But looking back at my journey now, I'd have gone, Sam, come on, mate. Those compulsions aren't helping you. All you're doing is prolonging the suffering. Each time you do a compulsion, you are sacrificing your future time of freedom, okay? Because all you're doing is eating away at that time to get better. Okay, so let's say, for example, when you are recovered, that time that you can spend until obviously the day you die, that with mental freedom, robust OCD recovery, you're eating away at that every time you do a compulsion. And this is why people remain stuck. This is why you don't see thousands upon thousands upon thousands of people recovered from OCD with the robust recovery. Because A, it's not simple, it's not simplistic, but also it takes so much consistency and hard work and practice. It's hard, it's difficult, of course it's difficult, right? It's not easy, but it's not impossible, but it's difficult, okay? And it takes that grit, it takes that determination to cut compulsions like your life really depends on it, and take that extra risk, take that leap of faith, okay? Remember, it's going to feel super risky, okay? So, looking back, Sam, cut those compulsions sooner, quicker, like your life depends on it. Don't give me excuses. Don't give me, yeah, but I'm going to keep doing this because of that. No, I don't care. You've got a holiday coming up. You're still going to cut that compulsion, because if you're serious, you can't wait until after the holiday, because if you wait till after the holiday, there'll be another reason why you can't cut the compulsions. Okay? So no more avoidance, no more confessing, no more venting, no more reassurance, no more engaging in unhealthy addictive behaviors. No more of that. Okay? No more venting. Okay? Because all that's doing is prolonging the OCD suffering, and you're pouring a bucket of jet fuel on a fire. You're keeping the OCD fire burning. That's what you're doing there, okay? And that leads me to the next point, and the final point that I'd have done, if I'm looking back at my journey, and that was exposures, right? Exposures were mainly for me just cutting compulsions, confronting the fear. All the things I was avoiding, go towards, okay? I found every excuse in the excuses book of why I couldn't do exposures. That one's too difficult. I'm not ready for that one. I can't deal with the anxiety that one's going to bring. That one's too scary. I'll do that one tomorrow. I'll do that one after my exam. I'll do that one after my football match. I'll do that one after my vacation. I'll do that one after I watch that film. I'll do that one after I go to the music concert on Sunday. I'll do that one after I date. After I go on that date, I'll come home and do that one. You won't. You will not do that one, okay? Because there's always a reason why you can't do it. I know every excuse in the excuses book, right? Because I've read every page. I've got every excuse and given it to people, right? Because that was me. I know how that feels. But realistically, you can't kid anyone, because what you're doing when you're making up excuses, it's frustrating for us to hear, because we want that recovery for you, hence why we're working with you to get you better. But then it's also frustrating for you, because you are hindering your own recovery, because you are thinking of excuses. You think it's for to not do compulsions, but you're actually to not do exposures, but you're actually thinking of excuses to why you can't recover from OCD. You will never feel ready to do an exposure. That tomorrow never comes. It's always tomorrow. Because you wait until tomorrow, and then it's tomorrow again. And you wait until the day after, and then it's the day after that one again. It never comes, okay? You have to do exposures even when you don't feel ready, because you will not feel ready. It does not work like that. You won't just suddenly wake up and go, well, hey, today I am doing exposures, woohoo, right? You would never feel ready. Sometimes you just have to just go for it, okay? Good motivation for me to get me to do exposures was thinking how lucky I am to be in a position to do exposures. Okay, so the fact that I was alive, the fact I had OCD in this era, right? We are living in the best possible time to have OCD. Yes, OCD is very, very difficult, but we are living in a world of internet, where there's phones, and there's lots of education. OCD is still misunderstood, but it's come a long, long way. The fact you can load up Instagram and search OCD recovery, and you can see people who've been through that. You can see recovery stories. You can see knowledge. You can be educated on the disorder. You can really see that you're not alone. Okay? Now, think how lucky you are to be in a position to do exposures and to have a coach who's going to guide you through them. Think how lucky you are to have that, because people in the past would have done anything for that. Think of somebody 100 years ago, they'd done anything to even know what OCD was, let alone do exposures and try and get better. Okay? So think how lucky you are. Think what somebody would do to be in your position, who had OCD severe in the past. They would do absolutely anything just to have the 5-second conversation with you to understand what's going on, right? So do you really want to turn your nose up at that opportunity and go, no, I'll do that tomorrow. I'll do it when I next feel ready. You won't ever feel ready, okay? I cannot highlight enough. Anything worth having, like OCD recovery, robust recovery, mental freedom, will not come easy. You can't just wake up and it's there. You have to want it. You have to really go for it, like your life depends on it. Because for me and for many others, and for probably all of you watching this video, your life does depend on it, because look how restricted your life currently is in the OCD cycle. Every time you avoid something, every time you do a compulsion, every time you refuse to dispute and not read the books, all that's doing is giving OCD power. OCD then has the upper hand to your life, and then it calls all the shots to your life. Okay, so you're not actually living life on your terms, you're just existing, you are not living. Okay, so to recap, if I had to do anything differently in my journey when I look back now, it was getting on with the first book, okay? Much quicker, not skimming it, not saying this isn't working for me, putting it down and going back to it 2 weeks later, none of that. Be consistent reading it, okay? Disputing, taking away from what I was learning in the first book, getting pen to paper, disputing on paper, writing down my core fears, writing down my rational beliefs, looking at disputing questions, right? How can I break this down? How can I disprove that irrational demand? Can I really stand that? Is it really awful? Right, cool, let's give it a go, see how it goes. I'd have cut my compulsions a lot sooner, and I've gone for exposures. I wouldn't have thought of every excuse in the book for exposures. I'd have just gone and done it. Get out of the way with, done, okay? And the next one, you build up to the next ones, rather than just making excuses. Focus on why you can get better, rather than why you can't. And think how lucky you are to be in a position where you can get better, and you're not living hundreds and hundreds of years ago where recovery was impossible. So, if you need help in your recovery journey, please email phil@ocdrecovery.com. My name's Sam. You've got Rob, Nick, Momin, and Gemma here, who does OCD coaching. And you can get in touch with us here, one of us coaches, and we can book you in as soon as possible. If you like this video, please leave a like, and we will speak again. Bye-bye.